Hello dear students. Till last lecture we have discussed about two chapters, that is fundamental unit of life and tissue. Now henceforth we are going to start diversity in living organisms. This is third chapter from our syllabus, last chapter of this semester. In this semester 3 chapters will be there. So let us start with diversity in living organisms. Dear students, on this planet Earth there are many organisms living in association with each other. Now all these organisms have some or the other important aspect, some or the other importance in this ecosystem where all organisms are living together, benefiting each other. So this huge number of organisms when they are living on earth, because there are diversified places, there are diversified conditions, situations, diversified atmosphere, environmental conditions. In this, different organisms are living. As estimated, up to now, near about 30 millions of organisms are recorded so far. There are many organisms which are not recorded yet, but some of them are getting extincted without recording also, because rate of extinction is very high due to changing environmental conditions. Most of the organisms get extinct without noticed. So here we need to study these all different types of organisms. Question arises, why to study, sir, this so much vast number of organisms, and why to study these organisms? We should study the organisms which are beneficial to us, isn't it? The question is genuine somewhere up to certain extent. But see dear students, now COVID-19 is going on. Nobody was knowing about COVID-19. At a sudden this virus has emerged and it has started taking lives of lakhs of people. And yet we don't have medicine over it. We don't have vaccine over it. How to cure this COVID-19 we don't know. So to find out medicine on this organism or on this virus, is it now possible to study all the organisms, to study the different types of organism and their properties and what chemical composition they have, and then accordingly is it possible to find out the medicine? No. If we start now, our life will finish, but we cannot finish study of these different types of organisms, isn't it? So we need to study all these organisms, but again the same question arises, that how to study all this huge, very big size of different species. It is next to impossible. So what is meant by diversity? It is means variety. Different places on the earth have their own typical kind of living beings. This rises to need of classification. Okay. So if started studying each organism from now, every second if we are studying one organism, then also our whole life will finish, but the diversity or these different types of organisms species wise it can't be studied. So to study this various or varied form of organisms, what we called it as a biodiversity, we must categorize them. So how to categorize them? So this categorization, this variety of organisms on our planet earth are different types. There are fungi, there are bacteria, there are whale like huge animals, squirrels, rabbits, human beings. So varied organisms are present on this planet earth. So we need to study them. So to study them, we need to categorize them, we need to classify them, and for this purpose, classification purpose, we have to study this chapter, how to classify them. In this lesson, we are going to study about the explain the history of classification of living organisms. Classification has not started today itself, isn't it? So it has started long back. So since time immemorial, scientists, some philosophers, they might have started categorizing these organisms on the basis of certain characteristics. Probably the characteristics were not fit to scientific reasons. That's why they failed to. But they have started and they tried to classify these organisms. So we are going to explain the history of classification of living organisms. Then describe organisms using the 5 kingdom classification system. Recently, Whitaker, which is the name of the scientist, who has classified all these organisms into different groups, and these groups are called as a kingdoms. So 5 kingdom classification system we are going to study in this lesson. Then use the hierarchical classification system to further classify organisms into subgroups. To classify these different types of organisms into subgroups, there is a hierarchy. All the organisms can't be classified into 5 kingdoms only. Only 5 kingdoms can't suffice the purpose. So we need to categorize them hierarchy wise. Small groups we have to make on the basis of differences and similarities of the characteristics. And we are going to study about the names of organism using binomial nomenclature. So all these points we are going to study in this chapter. Apart from this, we are going to study about detailed classification of kingdom Plantae and detailed classification of kingdom Animalia also. So here we can see in this slide why it is a necessity of classification. Why it is necessity of classification? I told you there is a huge number of organisms, and that's why we need to classify them, and this is the first need of organism, because some of the organisms have different properties, like some plants have medicinal properties, some animals have very crucial role in the ecosystem, in the food chain or food web. So to know their basic role in the ecosystem, we need to study them in detail. So this is a need of classification. We must know each and every organism which is living on the earth, so that further we can study them properly. It establishes hierarchy of groups of organisms on the basis of their common features. So common features, when they are grouped together, so there is a hierarchy, there is some similarity between the organisms, which will be helpful to trace out the evolutionary relationships. We know that in evolution, to find out the evolutionary relationship, we must know the similarity and differences of the organisms, so that one can understand from which organism has evolved. So that's why it is important to understand the hierarchy. It makes the systematic study easier. So to remember the names of all the students from the school, it is a bit difficult. But if we categorize them, these students are sports persons, these students are academicians, these are the group of students who are good orators, these are the students who are good musicians. If category wise if we are classifying all the strength of the school, it becomes very easy to understand as well as to remember that particular student, because with the help of that particular characteristics we can remember that particular organism. So it makes a systematic study easier. It is essential to understand the interrelationship among different groups of organisms. As I told you, to find out the evolutionary relationship, it become easy to find out interrelationship between the different groups. It serves as a base for development of their biological science as well as different fields of applied biology like public health, environment, etc. One example I have given you: to find out the medicine of COVID-19, we must know the properties of different organisms which can be working as an antidote against the COVID-19. So this was about why classification is necessary. different organisms shows different characteristics, and according to that characteristics we can classify them. Like, what are the characteristics? Which can be the characteristics? Some of the organisms are unicellular, some organisms are prokaryotic, some organisms are eukaryotic, some organisms have cell wall, some organisms can photosynthesize, do photosynthesis, some organisms cannot do photosynthesis, some organisms don't have cell wall. So such are the characteristics which can help us to differentiate these different types of organisms into different groups, and then group wise we can study them, or one kind of character when it is fixed, that will become easy to find out the study, to find out that particular organism, or to reach till that particular organism. So this was about characteristics. What is meant by character then, that we are going to see in next slides. So who tried to find out first classifications, or who were the initial players in this system of classification, who can who have contributed for this system of classification? So Aristotle was a Greek philosopher who was considered as a prime member, who was considered as an initiator for philosophy. So he has tried to classify these organisms into three categories. Generally, basically, he has categorized in general sense the organisms which are living on the land, the organisms which are living on the water, the organisms which are living in the air. So these were the characteristics to classify all these organisms in general. But this classification was not scientific. It did not stand, because unrelated organisms were put together. The organisms who are living in the water, they were animals also, they were plants also, they were bacteria also. So all these organisms were together. At the same time, the organisms which were living on the land, they were all together, means animals were with them, and plants were with them, fungi were with them, bacteria were with them, lichen were with them. So all these organisms were put together. So that classification was not segregated properly. So that proper segregation does not take place. That's why this classification system was not accepted. But till next classification system comes, scientists followed that classification system which was put forth by Aristotle in 4th century. In 4th century, Aristotle has classified all these organisms on the basis of the organisms which are living on the land, the organisms which are living in the water, and the organisms which are living in the air. So this was about Aristotle. First of all, let us try to understand what is meant by classification. So basically, the grouping of organisms on the basis of their similarities and differences is called as a classification. The organisms which are having similar characteristics will be put in the one group. The organisms which are having differences from that group, once again there will be a classification, there will be a bifurcation, isn't it? So this is grouping of organism on the basis of their similarities and differences. That is called as a classification. The character is property of an organism. What is by character? So the character is a property of an organism. We have properties, isn't it? I can play football very well. This is my property. I can give lecture very well. This is my property. You can swim very well. This is your property, isn't it? These are the properties. So the character is a property of an organism. For example, having 5 fingers is a character. In whole population, if we are considering, then what are the characteristics? The animals which are having 5 fingers, it can become a characteristic, and so on the basis of this similarity, we can group together all these animals at a time in one group. So this can become a property of an organism, or the characteristics of the organism. Now having chlorophyll pigment is a character, isn't it? So all the plants can be grouped together. Chlorophyll means having photosynthesis. The ability of photosynthesis can become a characteristics, and that's why on the basis of this characteristic, all the organisms can be categorized in one group. So cell wall present or cell wall absent can become a characteristic. So the organisms which are having cell wall, they will be put together in one group. Who are not having cell wall, that is cell wall is absent, they can be put in another group. So all these are the characteristics, and they can be used for classification, because this classification become easy because of this. So classification of characteristics, here just an example is shown, with the organisms which are having 5 fingers can put together. So man, then mouse, bear, squirrel, all they are having 5 fingers. Okay, so they can be put in a one group. So group Animalia we can how in one group Vertebrata, they will be put accordingly as per the characteristics. Now why classification is important? Because evolution is a change in the characteristics from one generation to next. Hence classification helps to trace evolutionary relationship. Just now if we classify these organisms, here initially this monkey or ape, it can be classified away from the human beings, but as time goes the characteristics changes, and during classification they become separated from each other. So I said classification on the basis of similarities and differences we can classify these organisms. So father of evolution Darwin, in his book Origin of Species, he has written this evolutionary relationship, how gradual changes are taking place in the species to evolve new species from the present population. From present population, slowly gradually new characteristics are coming in the organisms, new characteristics are observed in the organism, and the organism with new characteristic is considered as a new species. So origin of species, how it takes place, it was demonstrated by Charles Darwin in 1859, and that's why he is called as a father of evolutionary systems or evolution. So we have seen that in the history of classification, who have made attempt to classify this all these different types of organisms. So Ernst Haeckel was the scientist who has started classifying these organisms, and it was given he has given 3 kingdom system. Before that Carl Linnaeus was the scientist. It was given by Carl Linnaeus 2 kingdom system in 1758. Organisms were divided into plant kingdom and animal kingdom. Fungi, bacteria and euglena could not find an appropriate position in 2 kingdom system, which was put forth by Carlos Linnaeus in 1758. Then it was given by Haeckel 3 kingdom system. In this kingdom Protista was also included among with plant kingdom and animal kingdom. So initially there were only 2 kingdoms, plant kingdom and animal kingdom, proposed by Carlos Linnaeus. Then Ernst Haeckel 3 kingdom system, kingdom Animalia, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Protista. These were the 3 kingdom. Then it was Copeland who has given 4 kingdom system, and Monera was introduced by Copeland in this system of classification. Then it was Robert Whittaker who has proposed 5 kingdom system in 1969. According to him, organisms were divided into 5 kingdoms. Which were these 5 kingdoms? Kingdom Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and animals or Animalia. Okay, so these were the basic classification system, and these are the attempts made by. So which were the scientists? We have seen the names of the scientists were Carlos Linnaeus, then Ernst Haeckel, then Copeland, and then it was Robert Whittaker. So all these scientists. Carl Suess also have tried to classify all these organisms. So here these are the 5 kingdom system given by Robert Whittaker in 1969. So which were these 5 kingdoms? The 5 kingdoms were Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So these were the 5 kingdom systems on the basis of different types of characteristics. So what are the basis for classification? Basis of classification. So basis of classification, what does it mean is how organisms are classified into 5 kingdom system. So what were the criteria, what were the properties which are used to classify these different types of organisms into different categories, they like different kingdoms. So here, first of all, the first characteristic was used to classify these organisms into 5 kingdoms was unicellular or multicellular. The organisms were classified into unicellular and multicellular. First characteristic which was used as a prokaryotic or eukaryotic cells. Then eukaryotic cells further classified into unicellular or multicellular. Multicellular organism further classified into presence of cell wall, presence of absence of cell wall. Further, presence of cell wall was classified into photosynthetic ability and non photosynthetic ability present and photosynthetic ability absent. So these were the criteria or basis of classification which are used in the classification system. Then we have to see about hierarchy of classification, taxonomical hierarchy. It is framework by which taxonomic groups are arranged in definite order from higher to lower categories. Okay, so here example is given of hierarchy of classification: kingdom, phylum in case of animals, and it is division in case of plants, then class, order, family, genus and species. Dear students, see here I have given example. When kingdom Animalia is considered, there are different types of huge number of animals. So kingdom Animalia can be considered as the organisms which are not having cell wall or absence of cell wall. Multicellular organisms having absence of cell wall, they are categorized into one kingdom, that is kingdom Animalia. So huge number of organisms. On the basis of similarity, we have kept all these animals in one group, that is kingdom Animalia. Now on the basis of differences, all these organisms, on the basis of differences, we can classify them further, we can categorize them further, we can bifurcate them further. So next hierarchical group will come as a phylum. So in this, probably the organisms which are having unicellular body structure or which are not having mouth and anus, such type of difference is not there, only pores are there, tissue system is not differentiated, organ system is not developed. Such type of characteristics will be used to bifurcate them, to classify them, to categorize them into small groups, that is called as a phylum. Further again, in this one phylum, huge number of organisms are there, big number of organisms are there. Further they are classified on the basis of differences. Initially they kept it on the basis of similarities, but on the basis of differences we are going to bifurcate them, we are going to distribute them. So class will be the next level of classification, and so on. Order, family, genus and species will be the hierarchical order of classification. Now here note down that species is a basic unit of classification system. Species is a basic unit of classification system. What is by taxon? Taxon here in kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species, any of these can be considered as a taxon. It refers to any rank or category in the hierarchy order of classification. For example, kingdom, phylum, etc. The highest taxon is kingdom, while the lowest taxon is species. Species are the groups of organisms having similar morphological characteristics which can freely interbreed and produce their own kind. It is the basic unit of classification system. Just now we spoke about it. Then next is binomial nomenclature, which was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus. What is this binomial nomenclature? Actually, these all organisms actually are named with two names. One name is genus name and one name is species name. Here you can see on the screen there are different types of organisms which are named with two names. Why this binomial nomenclature? But as an example we can take in our area where we are living, different plants are named by different names. Okay, different plants are named by different names. In one state itself, Or in India, if we see, in South India we called something with different name to drumsticks. Here we call with some different name. We may be in Maharashtra we call it as a shevga. In South India something different name might be there. In America, in their native language, some different name might be there. In Nepal there might be a different name, isn't it? So to tiger we call it as a wag in Maharashtra, bag in Hindi. In South India it might be uh, known by some different name. So it makes big confusion. It makes big confusion. And to avoid this confusion, once that particular organism is named such and such name, then universally that name should be permanent. And that's why this binomial nomenclature system was introduced by Carlos Linnaeus. For example, now Panthera tigris means tiger. It will be named by this name all over the world. You go anywhere, you go in America, you go in England, you go in Sri Lanka, Nepal or India, Panthera tigris means tiger. That is a permanent. Okay, so this is the permanent name or universal name, that is binomial nomenclature or biological name we call it as. Then to peacock, it is a Pava cristatus. Okay, Pava cristatus is the name of peacock. Then here Rana tigrina is a frog. So Rana frog will be known by Rana tigrina all over the world. Okay, otherwise it would have changed. हम उसको मराठी में बेडूक बोलते, फिर मेंढक बोलते हिंदी में, और इंग्लिश में शायद फ्रॉग बोलेंगे, या फिर और अलग अलग लैंग्वेजेस में अलग अलग उसके नेम्स होंगे. ओके, तो इट विल मेक कन्फ्यूजन. So to avoid this confusion, binomial nomenclature system has developed. Then here rat is named as a ratus ratus. Rat is named as a ratus ratus. Humans are named as a Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. Then Panthera leo is a lion. So these are the different biological names given for different organisms. So what are the rules for binomial nomenclature system? So what is meant by binomial nomenclature system? I told you it is a system of naming of an individual. Nomenclature is done on the basis of set of rules stated in which ICN, that is International Code of Nomenclature. And there are two bodies, ICBN and ICZN, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature and International Code for Zoological Nomenclature, and so on. Bacterial nomenclature, virus nomenclature, different bodies are there, but ICN, that is International Code of Nomenclature, this body take care of, look after of this naming. Binomial nomenclature, it is a system naming the organisms in such a way that each of their names contain two components. First is genus and second one is species. Just first point I have told here, genus name should be written first, species name is second, and then it is known by two names. Okay, for example, scientific names of human is Homo sapiens. Scientific name of crow is Corvus splendus. Homo and Corvus are the genus, while sapiens and splendus are the names of species. This system was introduced by Carlos Linnaeus in his book System Naturae, who is also called father of taxonomy. Carlos Linnaeus is also called as a father of taxonomy. Just now we have seen father of evolution is Darwin, isn't it? So certain conventions or rules are there for this nomenclature system. Genus name should be start with capital letter, species name should be start with small letter. If printed, scientific name should be italic. If handwritten, then it should be underlined. So these are some conventions and or rules and regulations for this classification system. The name of the genus begins with the capital letter. Just now you see here Homo sapien is a name of the genus. Homo is a name of the genus which starts with capital letter. The name of the species begin with a small letter. You can see sapiens, yes, started with small letter. When printed, just now it is printed, it will be in italics, and when it is written by hand, it should be underlined separately. So these are the rules and regulations or conventions of classification system. Now next is five kingdom system of classification. Here in five kingdom system of classification, all these organisms are grouped, I told you, by Whittaker in 1969 into five groups: kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae, kingdom Animalia. So let us see their characteristics one by one. In kingdom Monera, you can see there is a cell wall present. These are prokaryotic organisms. All the prokaryotic organisms are kept in kingdom Monera. Unicellular, prokaryotic, microscopic. They can't be seen with naked eyes. They need to be seen by microscope. Most ancient, सबसे पहले मोनेरा है अर्थ पे. Can live in deep ocean, hot spring, desert, high salt concentration, etc. They include bacteria, filamentous and photosynthetic blue-green algae. So they are having cell wall. They are also having photosynthetic ability. For example, blue-green algae, they are having photosynthetic activity also, ability also. So this was about kingdom Monera. Here you can see some bacteria, some blue-green algae are shown, some organisms are shown likely. Then next group in five kingdom system, it will come. You can see here, Monera, it is kept at base, means from their origin has started. All the organisms origin has started from Monera. Then it comes to Protista. From Monera, Protistans came, and from Protista at a time three groups have evolved. Three groups have evolved. They are Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Animalia is the largest group and most advanced. Okay, so let us see, go towards kingdom Protista. In Protista, here eukaryotic unicellular organisms are kept in Protista. Unicellular colonial eukaryotes, they include photosynthetic algae, decomposers like slime molds and protozoan, that is predators, are shown here. You can see here Euglena, then amoeba, some algae, multicellular algae, but eukaryotic. You can see here all these organisms are kept in the kingdom Protista. So we have seen kingdom Monera, then we have seen kingdom Protista. Now let us go towards next kingdom, that is kingdom Fungi. All the fungi, they are having cell wall, but they lack photosynthetic ability. They are having cell wall, but photosynthetic ability is lost. Mucor, then mushrooms, rhizopus, all these are the examples. Upside it is shown as a mushrooms. Second one is rhizopus. Yes, third one is mucor. So these are the examples of kingdom Fungi. So kingdom is a group. Unicellular or multicellular eukaryotic organisms, they are heterotrophic, parasitic or saprophytic. Saprophytic means which are living on dead and decaying organisms. Unicellular, they are unicellular or multicellular eukaryotic organisms. They are having cell wall. Okay, they are parasitic or saprophytic. Next kingdom comes in five kingdom system as kingdom Plantae. Okay, in kingdom Plantae, these organisms are multicellular eukaryotic but autotrophic. Autotrophic means who can synthesize their own food material, that is called as a autotrophic or photosynthetic. Some are heterotrophic also and parasitic also, but as they are having cell wall and if chlorophyll pigments are present, then they are kept in the kingdom Plantae. They include photosynthetic algae, green plants and etc. You can see here some flowering plants are shown. They are non-motile and autotrophic. These are the properties. On the basis of this, all plants are categorized in one group. The next group comes as, see, we have seen is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and now it's a turn of Animalia. Animalia is the largest kingdom in terms of number of species diversity. Here it is a kingdom Animalia, which is largest kingdom of this five kingdom system. What are the characteristics of this? These are multicellular eukaryotic cells and they are heterotrophic. They cannot synthesize their own food material. They are dependent on other organisms for their food material. So these are the characteristics of these different kingdoms up to kingdom Animalia. In next chapter, in next session, we are going to discuss about each one differently, each one's characteristics in detail. Kingdom Animalia and kingdom Plantae are the basically two uh, parts we have to see in this chapter in detail. We will go in detail next time.